Yeah. Yeah. So good morning, everyone, and thank you for joining in today's SMS, the Saturday morning sessions that we are having every week. So today I'm fortunate to introduce CA Yatish ji, Yati Varnakar ji. He is a graduate and also a fellow chartered accountant from the wonderful state of the sun and sand, Goa. So whenever we need anything in Goa, so Yatish ji is the person to whom we address all the queries and questions and support. So he has experience of nearly 15 years in finance, taxation, accounts, costing. His firm is entirely handling matters related to direct tax, indirect tax, as well as auditing. He is a wonderful faculty because of which he is invited in different forums like the Institute of Chartered Accountants, Institute of Company Secretaries, as well as the Goa Chamber of Commerce and Industry, to name a few. So with this brief introduction, so I would, he's also, of course, nominated as a member of the Taxation Committee of the GCCI for the years, from 1718, 1920 and 21-23. So with this brief introduction, I would like to request Yatish ji to take forward the discussion today. And as we have shared in the agenda, the discussion that we have today is on section 128A and the changes which have come in perspective of section 16.4. So thank you very much. So over to you, Yatish ji. We'll now travel to the wonderful place of Goa through you.
Very good morning to you all. I hope I am clearly audible.
Yeah, clearly audible.
So very good morning. Firstly, thank you to this GST faculty group. We learned so much from this group, and one thing that I want to really thank this group, I mean all the stalwarts, is most of the solutions are very practical, because generally, we are the type of professionals who deal with clients, we deal with the department, and the kind of answers that we get quickly on this group, it is really, I think, something very, very practical answer that we get is something I have not seen in many other groups. So I have been asked to take two parts of these budget changes. One is the changes which have been done to 16.4 by way of insertion of 16.5 and 16.6. And then we'll also be taking that 128A, which is the amnesty scheme. Now, I couldn't prepare any elaborate PPT, but I have definitely made a sort of a pointer so that we have some sort of a direction to this discussion. Nonetheless, this is a very new thing, and I would request the participants to please do pitch in wherever you can and add, because this is a new thing and everyone is, I think, learning a lot, still digesting what exactly is going to happen in terms of many of these provisions which will be coming into force. So I will start my discussion now, because 16.4 I think was largely litigated, and the timeline was restricted by earlier up to September and then up to 30th November. There was a lot of litigation seen, and I think a lot of clients had even given up hope that anything will happen, because almost 4 decisions, Govinda and Tirumala Plywood and even Jain Brothers, only the last decision, I think, that M Trade Link, I'll just open my sheet because I'm not able to the last decision, M Trade Link, I think, gave some kind of a relief where they said that the November. Arupji, is this word visible now?
No, the word is not visible.
Okay. I'll just do that change. Okay. So in M Trade Links, I think there was a little.
Now you have to just थोड़ा सा large करना पड़ेगा.
Large करोगे इसको? View full screen करता हूँ. View. 100% है, इससे बड़ा नहीं होता. Oh. Bold कर दूं क्या?
Yeah, perfect. ठीक है.
So you may also make it web layout. I think web layout will make it the full page too.
Right. Web layout.
Is this okay?
Yeah, perfect.
So, I mean, we all know 16.4. I had just placed it for the sake of it. I will not read it now. But I mean, there was a lot of litigation, and almost all the litigation went against the industry. Started with Tirumala Plywoods of Andhra Pradesh, and then Govinda of I think, and Jain Brothers. Only M Trade Links gave some partial relief where they said that the November date, which was I think from October 22, should be read retrospectively for all the years. But largely the litigation in this had failed. But I think council, this was cooking up as to some solution on this, and council in the 53rd council meeting discussed and came up with a solution by way of giving an extension of time limit through the insertion of 16.5 and 16.5 and 16.6. So what we will do is we will just take up 16.5, which is inserted. Now, one thing to note is this will be inserted with effect from 1st July 2017. So it is a sort of a retroactive provision, if I have understood correctly. So I will just go through the provision once. Sorry. Sorry, I'm a little bad with this.
If you can just select all and just increase the font, it would be even better for reading.
Acha.
Just select all and just increase the font with 2 or 3.
Okay, I'll have to select. This is a PDF, but Vishal.
Acha,
One
okay. I
minute.
thought you said Word, so I thought it was Word. No
That
problem.
previous one was Word.
Okay.
Just
Fine.
a second. This is section here.
We can see the word only. PDF अभी तक नहीं आया screen पे.
हाँ, exactly.
अच्छा. सर ये
उसको
मुझे ना
stop sharing करके फिर उसको start sharing करना पड़ेगा.
Yatish, I
ये
think
थोड़ा
you have shared only one screen. You have not shared all screens. I think
अच्छा ऐसा कर सकते हैं क्या? All screens कर सकते हैं?
वो एक option आता है अभी. I don't know. Generally.
ठीक है, अभी मैं ये करता हूँ.
Stop sharing करके उसको start sharing कर सकते हैं. PDF.
अच्छा ये आ गया ना सर? आ गया
Now
ना?
this is PDF.
Yeah, now it's visible. Yeah.
हाँ तो I've opened the finance bill. I was trying to copy this into one thing, but I was struggling with the formatting, so I said I will do this switching. But anyway, in section 16 of the CGST Act, with effect from 1st July 2017, after subsection 4, the following subsections shall be inserted. We will only take up 5 for the time being. Notwithstanding anything contained in subsection 4, so this is an exception carved out to section 16.4, in respect of an invoice or debit note for supply of goods or services, or both, pertaining to financial years 17-18, 18-19, 19-20, and 20-21. The registered person shall be entitled to take input tax credit in any return under 39, which is filed up to the 30th day of November 2021. So essentially, as I read, this is carving out an exception to the 16.4, and for these 4 years, the timeline for claiming input tax credit is stretched directly to the timeline of 2021, which is 30th November 2021. So all the initial issues, most of the issues which were there, I think, where it's 18, 19, 19, 20, that is where I think most of the issues of delay in filing, etc. We had a case which was during COVID time. People had no money to pay the tax. And in the March 20 return, after the lockdown, typically went around after September. That time, I think September was the due date for March 20. And there was a huge pressure of the department to pay the money. They were almost like there was no, even for COVID, there was no exception. But the kind of industry that I belong to, Goa, most of the hotels were completely shut for 3 months. And there was not even an accountant there for some, in some cases, even he was asked to work from home with a part salary. But all those situations, are taken care of because of these 4 years. Anybody has any point on this 16.5 which we can discuss? Because as far as I am concerned, I would rather look at clause number 147, which makes it, I will just go to that clause 147. I'm sorry, 146 correction. Yeah. 146 correction. No refund shall be paid of all the tax paid or the input tax credit reverse, which would not have been paid or not reversed had section 114 been in, I think this should be clause actually, in force at all material times. So what is happening here is they are only talking of no refund of tax paid or ITC reversed, which would have not been paid. I think this language is because the section is effective from 1st July 17. So therefore, they are trying to say here that any taxes that you have already paid or ITC reversed, that will be as is where is basis. I think that is the language which is used in that 53rd Council, as is where is basis. This is typically a commercial term. So that is similar to as is where is basis here. They will not give you any refund of tax. My question, which I really feel worth discussion, is interest and penalty paid, because 17, 18, 18, 19, we know largely a lot of pressure was there from the department. People have also paid, giving up hope after seeing those 2-3 decisions which have gone adverse, and paid with interest and penalty. So the question is, the way clause number 146 is drafted, it only talks of tax paid. So I would like to open up this question for discussion. What happens to the interest paid, which I have paid, and penalties paid for earlier years? Will that be will it be possible to claim a refund? Yes, anybody would like to add to, or throw some points on this?
Sorry, can you repeat the question? I think the voice
Okay,
dropped
yeah.
in between.
Oh, sorry. So what I was saying is 16.5 gives relief to most of the cases who have not paid the tax. But people who have paid the tax or reversed the input tax credit, they will not be getting the refund. That is what is said in clause number 146 of the finance bill. No refund shall be made of all the tax paid or the input tax credit reversed, which would not have been paid or not reversed had section 114 been in force at all material times. Was I audible now? Was I audible?
Yes.
Yeah.
So my question is,
Yes.
my question is, a lot of people, because of department pressure, have already paid the tax and already reversed the ITC. Unka to clear hai. Unka to as is where is basis. That is what the council minutes also said. And that is what I think 146 clause is reflecting. But somewhere interest and penalty is not, nothing is being said here. So is there a possibility of getting the interest and penalty refunded? Is the question which I was putting in terms of people who have already paid. Because this only talks of tax paid or input tax reversed. It is quite different when we go to 128A. But
See, the literal reading, at least what I can comprehend, is that they are only barring the tax. So literally, there is no bar on interest and penalty. But if I understand homogeneously, then normally interest penalty always follows the tax. If there is no tax, there is no interest penalty. Now, drawing the same analogy, whether this also indirectly implies that if I'm not refunding tax, why should I refund interest penalty? So I agree to your point. This is a very open-ended issue as on date. And I just hope that once this is enacted, they come up with a proper clarification on these surrounding issues.
And one more thing is,
Yeah.
why they have to bring in this clause 146, specifically, like for interest and all, the 128A they have discussed in the section, but for this particular section 16, why did they bring it into this particular clause separately? That is also another discussion.
Yes.
And to this answer to your question of whether penalty and interest can be refunded or not, I agree with what Vishalji is saying. That is the view that we have said to our clients also. Because here, once they are saying that the tax which you have paid, even though it was not payable, because the effective date of change is 1st July 2017. But since you have paid the tax, so even the interest and penalty what you have paid in that regard, that will be considered to be in that relation only. And so no refund would be available for that.
So
But
you're saying it will go together. It will go together,
Yeah,
tax with interest and penalty.
Yeah, but I couldn't understand one thing, that why they have taken this separately instead of having it in the section itself.
Actually,
So if
this
anybody
should
can get their ideas
be
on that.
part of the explanation of 16.5. Ideally, I mean, that is how we would look at it. No, this could have been like how they've done it in 128A, etc.
Right. So anybody having their views on that, like why separately it has to be done? And also after this, whether refund applications can be actually made, considering section 265, there is not a tax paid as per law. So all those things. So these two discussions are there.
Arupji, you are saying refund of the tax itself.
Yeah. That's also a view taken by different bodies that, once you say that it's not a tax with effect from 1st July 2017, so can you
Yes.
specifically restrict it through an enabling provision? So that is again another discussion.
It is definitely susceptible
But
to a
coming to the
challenge.
first discussion, if there are any views on that?
Yeah.
Anybody? Like,
Arupji, what I think is clause 46. When we read it says no refund shall be made of all the tax paid. So that means it is not only covering ITC reversed. See, there can be two scenarios. One is that I have an output liability against which I had to claim a credit, but I did not claim it. So that means I had paid the tax. And second is I had the output liability, I claimed the credit, but subsequently I reversed it. So in that case, it is a case of ITC reverse. So if they have put in section 16 subsection 4, it only would have talked about ITC reversed. It would not have talked about tax paid. So they are trying to cover both the scenarios wherein the ITC either has not been claimed or has been reversed after claiming. So that's why they have written all the tax paid or the ITC reversed. And secondly, in my opinion, why they have not talked about interest and penalty. See, in my opinion, whenever there is a default, it is only a default of tax not paid or ITC wrongly claimed. Interest and penalty comes in case of comes wherein there is determination of tax. So if the tax was correctly payable but was not paid, or ITC was incorrectly availed but was availed, and therefore once it is reversed or tax has been paid, interest and penalty are consequential. So once tax reversal of payment has been correctly made, interest and penalty would also be treated as correctly. So we cannot see, in my opinion, differently for tax and a consequential levy of interest and penalty.
right.
Sir, I have. Hello.
Yes, sir, please. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, sir, I have two questions. Like the first one is, can I reclaim the ITC already reversed now, sir? That is first question. So I cannot go for refund, but the
Yeah, that's a
ITC
very
which is
good
already
question.
reversed, can I reclaim it back? That is question number one, sir.
See,
Question number two is, yeah, sir. Question
Yes.
number two is, let's suppose in a case where the assessee, for the purpose of saving interest, once the order was received, he has paid 100% of tax as pre-deposit just to save interest. So what happens to that interest and penalty? He is disputing it for 16.4. 100% of tax he has paid it as a pre-deposit. Now what happens to that pre-deposit which is paid, sir? Can that be refunded?
Oh, this is interesting. Sir, your first question was whether you can reclaim the ITC reversed.
Yes.
And I think that question spurs from the language used here is no refund shall be made out of tax paid or into tax credit reversed. Is that
Correct.
question coming from the word no refund?
Yes.
And you are saying that you are not claiming a refund, you are claiming a reclaim.
ITC. Correct.
Okay, very interesting point. This I think I had
Sir,
not seen this angle.
Yeah, in such a case, the question comes whether at all the statute allows you to reclaim it at present. Is there any provision which says that any ITC reverse can be reclaimed at any point of time without any limitation? There is only one situation envisaged in law, which is for 180 days. Other than that, whatever has been reversed can only be reclaimed within the statutory time period of 39 subsection 9. This is my opinion. So if ITC has been correctly, if we say that ITC was reversed, but now I want to reclaim, in my opinion, there is no such provision which allows for an indefinite period for reclaim. And secondly, the only option is refund, which is barred by clause 146.
RPG,
Yeah, sir,
Also
if we
to
come
add
to
in this,
rule, if we come to rule 37, sir, rule 37, the last sub rule. I'll just open it once, sir. So rule 37, the last sub rule says, sub rule 4, the time limit specified in 16 subsection 4 shall not apply to a claim for re-availing of any credit in accordance with the provisions of the Act or the provisions of this chapter that had been reversed earlier.
Isn't it rule that?
So 37 is
Read
speaking
the-
about non-payment of
37.
consideration.
No, that is the title, sir. That is the title.
No, correct.
Praveen, we
There are
already
some-
discussed this some time ago in the group. So the consensus was that the rules cannot give a concession that is beyond what has been contemplated in the parent provisions.
No, more than that, shouldn't it be the sub rule 4 is limited to the wordings which is given in rule 37? It can't be 37.4 is across whole of the act, no?
But I think once it was discussed in the group, sir, that the title of the rule which is there, and the wordings of the sub rule will prevail over the title of the rule, sir.
Praveen,
No,
what
it is
about the
still a
section?
subsidiary
Can the
of it.
rule
It
go
can't be-
beyond the section?
No,
Now that section,
Praveen,
And
for
only clearly said that
re-availing 180 days,
37.4.
there is a specific provision. But for any other case, there is no specific provision in the statute. So when the rule 37 sub rule 4 is saying not applied to a claim of re-availing of any credit, which has been reversed in accordance with the provision of the act. So if your view, I am taking 1641 reversed in accordance with the provision, I can reclaim it back irrespective whether I have claimed it within the statutory time limit.
Arpit sir, the wording under the tax has been all the tax paid. They have not used the word any amount paid. So can I take a government is the intention, we will not give the tax, but the interest and penalty, you have already bear the burden. We don't want to burden it. That's why they categorically kept the any interest or penalty outside that. All the taxes they want to consider only for the all the taxes means tax paid under the
September
See, in my opinion, there is only a determination of tax and or ITC wrongly availed. Interest and penalty are always consequential. And in so that's my opinion. There might be different opinions, and everyone have because this is only an initial stage. So in my opinion, interest penalty always follows the tax. And if the clause 146 says that whatever has been paid, if it was correct, by treating that 146 was never 114 was never there, then if the tax is correct, interest or penalty will also be correct.
I have certain inputs. One, answering this question about refund versus reclaim, I agree to Arpit Bhai's views that reclaim is not provided. Also, to add to this, last year we had this statement which was supposed to be filed showing our opening balances of credits, which we want to reclaim in the future. And I'm sure nobody would have put the 16.4 amounts over there. So now if you even reclaim it, as what I think Venuji also pointed out, 1C would be creating a challenge because the 1C will be throwing an error of mismatch because you never showed this amount in the opening balance. Further answering Orupji's question on 146, yes, when I also read this question had come to me, and this point of what would they mean by all the tax paid. So one is what Arpit Bhai said that that could be the one of the interpretations. Also, I had one more interpretation when I read this. It was that in the initial years when the GSTR 123 format was there, what I remember that whenever any ITC was supposed to be reversed, it was supposed to be added in the column of tax. So maybe I think in the initial years, those would have reverse ITC that would have been shown as tax payable, the reverser of ITC. So maybe this could be the reason why they have used the word of all tax paid. And the answer to this, why 146 is separate, just because in 16.4 only ITC reversal is mentioned, 16.4, 16.5. But in 146, they also want to cover the scenario of reversal as well as tax paid. So maybe that could be the reason why they have put it separately.
Vishal,
Sir,
may I have two views on this?
Yes, sir.
Now, regarding the first challenge that you have spoken, that there was a reporting of opening balances, that cannot be a bar to recredit per se, because the provision for filing that opening balance itself does not have any statutory force. It was something only the GSTN cooked up. So at that any point of time, we can challenge that opening balance, stating that it is only a facilitatory measure and nothing in law is specific that only this balance can be treated as opening balances for all purposes. Secondly, regarding the usage of taxes paid or ITC reversed, I agree that 1, 2, 3 could have been one reason, but another possible reason is that input tax reverse could be the cases where that assessee at any stage prior to a show cause notice reversed it through the returns itself, and the taxes paid is those cases where the payment has been done through DRC 03 or in any 73 or 74 proceedings. Ultimately, due to the present structuring of 73 and 74, even for the 5 limbs, taxes paid, short paid, ITC availed or reversed or erroneous refund, the proceedings are always culminating at determination of taxes, and the demand is always for a tax. It is not going to say demand for ITC reversed. So anyone who has faced the proceedings, they would get covered under the taxes paid, and those who have done it voluntarily or in the reversal column in the 3B, those would come under the ITC roast.
Sir, I have a question. If this payment of tax or reversal was done under protest because of the pressure put by the department, and necessary communication in this regard has been made that I'm doing this under protest, and should there be any further court decision or change in law, I would be reclaiming. Would that help the taxpayer in any case to reclaim, or this will override that under protest? Because there is no under protest law in GST. We are drawing it from the common law. So how will this thing sync with that?
I think this is already covered in the language itself when they say which would not have been so paid or so reversed. So I think they are already envisaging this, that even if you have paid it under protest, which you are not even supposed to pay, at least as per your interpretation, that is also covered over here and will not be eligible for refund. So this, I think, also answers the other question that if I have paid 100% just to save interest, whether that would be refunded. I don't think so, because it was not a pre-deposit. It was, like, we can put it in different words, paid under protest. So I think it will get covered in the language of 146.
Okay, I think 16.5 any more. Otherwise, I think 16.6
No,
we
no,
can
one-
take.
One
Yeah,
question still needs to discuss, which is
Yes.
Hello.
Arupji, we lost you.
I have one question on 16.5.
Uh-huh.
Am I audible?
Yes,
Yeah,
yes.
you're audible. Yeah.
So I have one question on 16.5. The way it is drafted right now is somebody, a taxpayer who has means the provisions the way they were till now or as of now, you are not allowed to take credit beyond 30th September for a particular year. So somebody who has gone ahead and taken, for them, you are giving a relief by way of giving a amnesty kind of a provision, that whatever you claimed against the provision of law as it stood that time is now vindicated, and now they are giving, okay, you can now take it. But say I'm a honest taxpayer and I interpreted the provisions the way they were, and it didn't allow beyond 30th September of next year for a particular financial year, and therefore I refrain from taking the credit. But in that sense, is it not little discriminatory, and on this ground can this be challenged for a person like me who interpreted the law and didn't take the credit, and somebody who went ahead and took the credit, the government is allowing them, they are giving them kind of an amnesty? And on this ground, can I now take the credit, which I wasn't allowed earlier? Means, firstly, it has to be challenged in the writ petition that this is discriminatory, and can such challenge withstand in the High Court?
Amitji, so here what is happening is we're basically challenging Article 14, right to equality. So now what is happening is there are two classes, right? Intelligible difference can be made. One class which had availed the credit even though it was filed after a delay. So when I filed the the returns under the amnesty scheme, say in the month of November 21 for the year 18-19, I had as a taxpayer taken a conscious decision and a risk of availing the credit for 1819, knowing fully well that tomorrow I may be exposed to this risk of reversal of the credit because I've taken it beyond 16.4. So that they are a different class altogether who have already availed the credit at least within the date of amnesty. So if you see that the date of 16.5 that has been extended, it is still 30th November 21, which coincides with the date of the amnesty which was given, which is 30th November 21. So basically that is the class of persons to whom this benefit is given, that okay, based on the decision of the government, you had gone ahead and filed the returns under the amnesty scheme by paying whatever tax had to be paid, availing whatever ITC had to be availed. So that class can always be intelligently differentiated from a class which has not availed the credit through a conscious decision. So Article 14, of course, you can always challenge, based on Article 14, you can always challenge this, but it would be a tough challenge because these two classes are having an intelligible difference. And there is a reasoning of the government as to why they had given this relief to the people up to 30th November 21. Because these people are the same people who have gone ahead and filed returns under amnesty. So this is one of the things that we were discussing previously when we have got this. So Article 14 is under challenge, but this thing needs to be looked into because the different high courts and Supreme Court has also ruled in different judgments that if there's an intelligible difference that can be made between the two classes, I can beat out differential treatment to both of them. So if anybody else wants to add, I think.
Sir, I would like to discuss on the time limit for reavailment of credit.
Yeah.
Sir, yeah, sir. So now basically 16 subsection 4, sir, it applies, it puts a time limit for availing credit when input tax credit in respect of any invoice or debit note has been availed. So when I'm taking an input tax credit in respect of any invoice or a debit note, there is a time limit which applies for me to take the credit. Now let's imagine a scenario when originally the invoice or debit note was received and I have taken credit. Subsequently, I had reversed that credit. Now when I'm going to reavail the credit, if at all, instead of going for a refund, if I'm going to reavail the credit, am I taking the credit in respect of any invoice or debit note, sir, or am I just reavailing the credit from my electronic credit ledger which was debited, where no individual identity of any invoice is there, it loses its identity?
Here actually you have to go by that principle of law, which says that what cannot be done directly, it cannot be done directly. First, second thing, what is explicitly mentioned in the law has to be followed. So if we see the entire GST law, as Arpit was sharing, reclaiming of credit has been allowed only in two provisions. Rule 37 for 180 days, Rule 37A, where my vendor is not filing the returns, is 3B within September of the next year. So in these two situations, the law has envisaged that you can always reclaim the credit, which is explicitly mentioned. So if the law has explicitly mentioned some situations in which the benefit can be availed by the taxpayer, so for other situations, that means there is a restriction. Okay, so if there is a restriction on reavailing of credit other than this two, if I am reclaiming it, then it is doing something indirectly, which I'm not allowed to do directly, which is I'm not allowed to do the refund, take the refund. So I'm indirectly trying to take the refund in the form of reclaiming the credit. So that would also be barred, because even if my refund was happening, it would happen as a recredit, right? So that would again be a challenge here. But again, yeah, reclaiming of credit is being advised by some of the professionals because last week we had a discussion in a particular study group. So there also some of the professionals there saying that we'll reclaim the credit and then maybe litigate that. But again, that's with the risk appetite of the taxpayer, whether he wants to litigate on that or not.
And sir, I have one point to say
Yes,
that 16.5, the conclusion of proceedings is not anywhere mentioned in the section. Like in 128A, where they have clearly given that conclusion will happen upon paying the remaining of the pre-deposit if it is on appeal. So such thing is not given, and what happens in a case where you've gone on a writ against 16.4 and whether you need to withdraw that writ application and then go for a closure, such things are yet to be clarified.
No, madam, if you see the judgment of the Honorable Jharkhand High Court, recent judgment, they have given a club judgment for all the pending proceedings under 16.4. They have discussed there that since now, though that's a very aggressive, I think, with all due respect, that's a wonderful aggressive judgment, because what is happening is that the honorable court has actually dealt with all the petitions under 16.4, because there is a recommendation as per the council, and which is also a part of the finance bill now. So what will happen is that even if you don't withdraw the writ, once the act is enacted, so what will happen is the writ court will dispose of all the writs by dismissing them as nothing is payable as per the law. And what some of the courts are doing is they are staying all these matters till the pendency of the enactment. So till the law comes into force, all the recovery under section 16.4 has been stayed by some of the courts. So that will reach a logical conclusion only when I think the writ courts will pass a judgment based on the act that has been enacted. So till then, in case of writs, we don't need to do anything. In case of appeals also, I am told that the appellate authorities, they are not going to take any action till there is a change in the law. Once there is a change in the law, they'll of course drop all the proceedings. And where appeal is filed, we'll get back the pre-deposit. So I think that is the outcome that is going to happen. And where we have paid already, the outcome is already set. So all these are the three situations that can happen. So that will be taken care of, and that's why nothing specific is mentioned in the act, in the bill actually.
And for the pre-deposit, we will have to file a refund application itself,
Yes,
sir?
yes, ma'am. Just like any other refund application that we file, here also you have to file that.
Yeah.
And completing this part of refund, if we are intending to claim the refund for interest and penalty, if we are suppose filing a refund application for that, so whether the time limit will also come into play now?
Ajay, you are saying if we go with the argument that, okay, tax is specifically mentioned, interest and penalty is not mentioned.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
we apply for interest. Yeah, of course.
In my opinion, if at all we are going for a refund of interest and penalty,
yeah, time limit will not.
Whatever judicial precedents are there, so time limit would be afresh, because cause of action for initiating the refund application has been generated by way of an insertion of a statutory amendment as of today. Let's treat that it is applicable from today. So a fresh time limit of 2 years would be given, because similar is the judicial precedents which have been given in case wherein a refund is entitled due to some change in legislation or change in circumstances. So in that case, the fresh limitation would arise from the date of amendment, if at all we think that interest and penalties are refundable.
Okay, sir. Thank you.
And here we can draw the inference from the Calcutta Club judgment. Propose the Calcutta Club judgment, we applied for refunds, taking that day as the relevant date. So what Arvind has said, that is what we can follow.
But Arupji, for
Section
that,
77 amendment is also there. There was a circular in September 21, wherein they said that 2 years for claim of refund would be from the date when the department says that it has to be deposited and corrected, not from the date when it was originally deposited.
Yes, held. Right.
So let's move to section 16, subsection 6 now.
Yes.
I think that's all we'll be able to cover looking at the time, because 16.6 is even more, there will be more issues. So I'll just read through 16.6. So where registration of a registered person is cancelled under section 29, and subsequently the cancellation of registration is revoked by any order, either under section 30 or pursuant to any order made by the appellate authority or the tribunal or court, and where availment of input tax credit in respect of an invoice or debit note was not restricted under subsection 4 on the date of the order of cancellation of registration, the said person shall be entitled to take input tax credit in respect of such invoice or debit note for supply of goods or services or both in a return under 39. And then they've given 2 time frames, whichever is later. I think before we go to the 2 time frames, as far as 16.6 is concerned, it initially puts a condition that on the date of cancellation, the credit should not have been time barred under 16.4. So if your date of cancellation, I mean, in the date of the order of the cancellation itself, you had lost the time frame, then this does not give you that relief. Is my understanding correct on this? Anybody has anything to say that here?
So
Hitesh,
whether
just repeat
now
your question.
whether now this 16.4, the timeline mentioned over here in 16.6 shall be read with 16.5.
Yes, this is a very valid point.
Yes, it would be read with 16.5.
So that means 31st November 21 will have to be seen for all those 4 years.
Yes.
Because 16.5 says notwithstanding 16.4. So ultimately we'll have to say 31st November 21 all the first 4 years. So now, so far as I read, the only condition that they've said is after the date of cancellation of the order, you should not have a 16.4 issue, which will have to be read with 16.5. And then they have put these 2 time frames. Now, one, whichever is later, of course. So point 1 of that is probably a replica of what 16.4 says, filed up to 30th day of November following the financial year to which such invoice or debit note pertains, or furnishing of the annual return, whichever is earlier. So this is exactly what 16.4 says, the same thing they have reproduced again. But the more interesting part comes from the second clause, which is a little more maybe technical. We'll have to probably spend some time on it. Here it starts with for the period from the date of cancellation. So, here in this second time frame, they are first restricting the period to which they are allowing me to take the credit. For the period from the date of cancellation of registration or effective date of cancellation of registration, as the case may be. That means I think there were cases when cancellation was done retrospectively. So then I'll get the benefit from the effective date till the date of order of revocation of cancellation, where such return is filed within 30 days of the order of revocation. So if I'm right, there was this court judgment from Gujarat High Court, Alisum Infra versus Union of India. In this, there was one paragraph which said that this period should be excluded. And probably that is where this section is inspired from. Anybody has any points? What I had done was I had created certain artificial cases to apply and see what credit I will get. So I'll just share that screen because this requires.
You can see what was typically happening. Why this thing had to come into place? The 16.6 is what was happening. This random cancellation of registration was happening for non-genuine taxpayers, for non-existence of office, for ITC fake taken and fake ITC taken and all those things. And in this, what was happening? In the timeline of my cancellation and revocation, the timeline for 16.4 was getting expired, and we were moving the high courts. Now, high court taking a view that this period is the control of the particular SSC, then he should be given that leeway, as you shared. In case of Gujarat High Court, the judgment that they have. This particular provision is a beneficial provision for the taxpayers, that in case wherein my registration was cancelled because of whatever reason, and I was prevented from filing the returns because it does not allow me to file any returns once the cancellation happens. But at a later point of time, my registration is revoked, either through court order or by the proper officer, how it is revoked. During that period, whatever ITC I could avail, I can avail it within 30 days. So this is one good thing, and it is also good for many people who have missed the bus. So now maybe they can go to High Court, take the revocation, come for revocation order, get the revocation and get the credits claimed. So that is again one more option. So we'll go to the case study.
Arupji, I had just done this to understand whether all my credits are actually retrievable or not. And I mean, because the rule was quite complex, I have made some kind of a artificial case here. So I had filed all my GSTR once for Jan, Feb and March, but I had not filed my 3Bs. So my credit for Jan, Feb, March was not claimed. And then I got struck off on April 23. Here effective date I have assumed on the same date with effect from April 23. And now obviously I'm going to get my revocation done in August 24. So I'm just testing what 16.6 is saying. The first condition is, which is there in the main para itself, where availment of the input tax credit in respect of an invoice was not restricted under 16.4 on the date of cancellation. So on 1st April 23, 16.4 was not hitting me for any of these Jan, Feb, March months. So I am through as far as I understand. Now I will try and apply the time frames which are given and then see whichever is later. Here there is some kind of a confusion which I am finding. So in the 3B, which is filed, up to 30th November following the financial year. So here for Jan, Feb, March, the time frame in point number 1 has already expired because that is November 23. Is everybody with me?
Yes, yes.
Yes.
Filed up to 30th day of November following the financial year to each such invoice. So Jan, Feb, March 23 ka already November 23 mein it is expired. So this, whichever is earlier, will be November 23, I think, in clause 1. So I'll just park November 23 for now.
Earlier or later?
Yeah, wo aa raha hu, second mein aa raha hu. I'm coming, Vishal. But the first one is not applicable to me. Now the second one starts with for the period from the date of cancellation. Now that means Jan Feb 23 is excluded. I start from April 23 because point number 2 doesn't say about period before the cancellation. It is very specific for the period from the date of cancellation of registration, which begins with on 1st April in my case, or the effective date of cancellation. In this example, I've kept this same till the date, I mean, as the case may be, till the date of order of revocation. So my credit, which I can claim today in this example, I'm really not getting any relief from this particular.
But
Jan,
there is
Feb,
an
March,
issue.
you can always file,
Then-
no?
Yes, sir.
You can file the returns
Sorry?
even after the cancellation because
Yeah.
portal will allow you to file.
Okay.
See, you have taken a date of 1st April to 23 when the date of which is the date of effective cancellation. So the
Correct,
portal
sir.
will be allowing you to file the return for January, February, March 23 till 30th November 23. So there is no requirement for relief under section 16(6) for this case. Only from 1st April 23 you would not be allowed to file the returns, and therefore 1 month extra would be required from 1st of September to 24 to 30th of September 24.
So you mean to say Jan Feb 20 March 23 is not time barred?
Yes, you can. Portal is allowing you to file the return even after cancellation because the effective date has been taken as 1st of April 23.
But how? Where
Had
is the
the
provision for
effective
this?
date been taken, had the effective
Till
date been
cancellation
taken
you can
1st
file.
of
The only
January
challenge is
23.
after the cancellation date you cannot file.
Okay. Okay, but will 16(4) not hit me here? For
No,
Jan Feb March 23?
the taxpayer can file his return up to 30th November 23 for Jan, Feb, March.
Yeah, but today I'm in August 24, no, sir?
No.
But it was your
First of
concentration
April,
that you have not availed the
in
credit. That is
April
the challenge.
23 itself he can file Jan Feb March.
Yes.
He
Yeah,
can
but for
file
some-
in April, May,
You should have
June
filed
till
within
August he
16(4)
can
deadline.
file Jan Feb
So what
March.
you're saying is even after cancellation you can file 3B.
Yeah.
Till, no,
And
till the date of
that's what we
cancellation, like
should
you gave
file.
1st April
We-
23. Whatever
Before
is
the
the
date-
date of
till
cancellation,
the date of
till
cancellation,
that
all the
date
returns
he can
have
file.
to be filed.
Before reading this amendment, the filing till what time the filings are allowed, those provisions have to be read and then read this. So what everyone is trying to say is,
Yes, sir.
from the effective date of cancellation, even if the effective date is not retrospective, so then the date of cancellation order is the effective date of cancellation. For the period before that, even after the order of cancellation, if any return is pending for the period before that, nobody is stopping you
Okay.
from filing the returns. It
Okay.
is not that
Okay.
once the cancellation comes into effect, the returns cannot be filed.
Okay.
So it
Okay.
has to be read along with that. And already there are, the law was, the rules were amended that when revocation happens, whatever is the period from the effective date of cancellation till the date of revocation, the returns have to be filed within 30 days.
Noted,
So
sir. Noted.
that is the second clause. This part 2 is that it is still to be within 30 days. The only challenge was that if
Post cancellation.
16(4) was, if
Post order of
16(4)
cancellation.
was prohibiting anything, that is now available. So it is it is a simple if it is read with those. It's not complicated.
Noted, sir. Noted. Okay. I take that note. So in that case, I think I don't any other issues that we see, Arupji, in this, because that was the only issue which I thought, but I stand to be corrected. So that means now the person can claim from April 23 or whatever and get his thing going. So even if this example, if the revocation happens within 30 days, so even if the revocation order comes in December, he can file within 30 days and get April to March credit, April 23 to March 24 credit.
Right.
One issue which has not been addressed in 16(6) is what happens is that let's take your example only, wherein the effective date is 1st of April 23, but the registration has been suspended on 1st of April 23. And what is happening practically is that the registration is being suspended not only for the case of filing of return, but for many other reasons. And they are being cancelled. And now supposedly the registration was suspended on 1st April 23, and it is cancelled on say 1st of December 23. So on the date of suspension, I was eligible, but on the date of actual cancellation, I was not eligible. So 16.6 is only considering cases wherein cancellation has been made. Because even but suspension is made, then I am not allowed to file the return subsequent to that suspension. So in my opinion, 16.6 somewhere now need to take into account the date of suspension also, not only date of cancellation.
Okay.
So after date of suspension, RPG, the restriction comes, no, the tax invoices cannot be issued, and
Yes.
can the purchases be made with the GSTIN number suspended?
No,
And
yeah,
anyways, there has been a recent change in the portal that, as per the rules, the suspension. There were two situations, no, for cancellation. One is the taxpayer files the application for cancellation of registration. So there were issues that whether after the date of application for filing cancellation by the taxpayer, should the taxpayer go on filing the returns? So that
no, the
was the
officer can
logic behind. Yeah. So that is the one
officer
scenario.
can
Second scenario is where officer initiates the
Yes.
cancellation.
Suspension.
So now the rules say that officer may or may not suspend that registration. But in the portal, what was happening was, whenever suo motu cancellation notice under 29.2 was being given, suspension was happening automatically. But very recently, in the last few weeks itself, a change has come that the officer may not suspend the registration in case of proceedings initiated under 29.2. Okay, so that is a very recent change in the portal, so it may not happen. I'm not saying that your point is not covering, so I'm just giving one more input. So
Yes.
going further, when the officers issue notices for cancellation under 29.2, they may or may not suspend the registration. So that would be some relief. The rules also say that suspension can be revoked. The rule does say that suspension can be revoked. That is separate from the cancellation. Suspension can be revoked. But that has not yet been, that feature has not yet been, maybe it will come, we'll have to wait for that, but that is not yet available on the portal. So RPG, I'm with your point, but just adding one more input, that going further, when we receive the notices for 29.2, it is the discretion of the officer whether the officer wishes to suspend the registration also, or officer may not suspend the registration. That is the one added feature. Just I wanted to share a recent change.
Thank you, sir. I think that input was really useful and it will be helpful for all of us to understand also. So, because if this thing is made, then I think one major challenge of non-filing of return, payment of interest for the cash portion, all those things are taken care of also. So, yeah, Yatishi.
Yes. Shall we go to the amnesty? We'll start amnesty. Ruchi?
No, I think
It's not. It doesn't make sense.
6 minutes will be too short.
No. I mean, we won't even be able to start it. It will be unfair to
So,
start it now.
yeah, so with the kind consent of all the members, if we have any other discussion on 16, maybe we can take that. Or if anyone wants to add anything, so we can have that evaluation. Or we'll have a closure for today. And 128A we'll take next week. I think that will be better. So that in the interest of the wholesome discussion.
One thing I would like to ask, what
Yeah,
about the cases where we have not filed any appeals, we have not done any
that discussion
limitation?
is left. Right.
Yes. So what is the general consensus for deleting those demands from the liability ledger?
So there are two situations. One, order is passed. I have not filed an appeal because I didn't know about the order only. So, and second is that order is passed and I want to file the appeal, right?
But the limitation is over because of I didn't have money, whatever be the reason.
Yes.
Sir, I
So
think
what?
I think there be a form that they will notify once these provisions will apply. Ultimately, we have to apply to the officer and in an online mode, and they will probably rectify or delete or close that liability which has been created in the portal. There will be some mechanism which they will throw for this kind of thing.
No, but as a taxpayer, what do we need to do as of now till the enactment of the law happens? So,
Sir, already appeal filing time has been lapsed. Sir is saying that nothing is pending from my end. I mean, you have to wait for something to be notified. I mean, some application which you could point it at.
So in some of the jurisdiction in West Bengal, some of the officers are requesting us to file a letter giving the ground of 53rd GST Council meeting and the finance bill and all that, saying that with the request to keep the recovery in abeyance only where 16.4 is the sole issue.
Correct.
So that is and another thing that we are doing. I don't know whether many people will subscribe to that view or not. Even in case of appeals, we are not paying any pre-deposit as of now.
Same.
So we are filing with zero pre-deposit just for the compliance of filing the deposit. So in other cases, we see that the show cause notice for not filing pre-deposit along with the appeal, it comes within 3 to 4 working days, at the most 5 working days. But for this particular 16.4 orders, which are solely for 16.4, in those cases, we have not received any SC until now. I'm not sure what will happen, in the next week. But till now, even though around 8 to 10 days or more have elapsed, so many of the appellate authorities, they have preferred not to issue a show cause notice in these cases for want of pre-deposit, because they know that ultimately these matters will have to be dropped. So that is one thing. And another view is that even if, say, the first appellate authority issues me a show cause notice because I have not paid the pre-deposit and he rejects my appeal. So even in that case, whether I should go to the High Court or not, I think that is again a major question. But I don't know, is any state recovering for 16.4?
No, sir. No. Even the appeal matters are getting pending. Even the way you said, zero pre-deposit is also accepted in some of the cases. Only thing is the adjudication department is a little worried what to do. I mean, they have to pass the order or kept it pending. They are a little bit worried.
Orders have to be passed. I think that is what. Because today we are lucky to have members from, I could see members from at least 13, 14 states. So if for any other states, if there is any recovery, you can share your views or inputs. About 16.4. Yes, sir.
Arupji, not about 16.4. Very good discussion on 16.5 and 6. अब ये जो amnesty scheme है ना, we had an opportunity to meet the commissioner of Karnataka, and we raised few issues. जैसे अगर the SCN has been issued only for interest and penalty and there is no tax.
Right.
And अगर मैंने pre-deposit already pay कर दिया है, I have paid the entire amount under protest. So there is no mechanism where these will be adjusted. She said that maybe rules में आएंगे, हमको भी पता नहीं है. Third is अगर एक बार आपने amnesty में apply कर दिया, 108 can still be invoked. So it is a little different from the Sabka Vishwas scheme where एक बार accept हो गया तो everything is closed. So what she told is that you raise all these concerns and the rules have not been framed, and the CBIC is also coming up with FAQs very soon. तो आप उससे पहले अगर मेरे को issues दे दो, which you believe there is some requirement कि it has to be highlighted to the authorities at the right level, then we will consider all of that to the extent required, and we will include that in the FAQ.
Yeah, I think that is a wonderful idea, in fact, that all of us can share the inputs in the group.
तो हाँ, अगर आप inputs अगर share करेंगे तो I will prepare a document, FAQ. I will share it with all of you. Once you give me a go ahead, I will share it with the concerned person who will forward to the Commissioner of Karnataka.
Wonderful. So we are ending today's SMS on a wonderful note with a lot of hope that, whatever suggestions we have for 128A amnesty scheme, whatever doubts we had, we can put it down in the group, write it in a proper word format, and put it in the group. So Hanishji will then collate them and maybe share them with the Commissioner of Karnataka, and we can also share it with our respective commissionerates also, so that it gets a lot of momentum and strength. So with this, I think a lot of hope, a lot of joy.
Arupji,
Yes.
Rupji, in Jammu also GRC meeting is scheduled in next few weeks. So I will also be raising these
Yes.
with them. Okay?
Yeah.
Rupji, recognize people from faculty group in the session also. Dekhe, how many of you are here to say hi to you?
Oh, so
Arey,
nice.
अरे एक बार फोटो दिखाइए फोटो Venu, we missed the photo.
Oh, you are in Hyderabad.
Oh, wonderful.
Yes,
Wonderful.
very big.
अरे big team.
नहीं बिग
Big
टीम
team,
मतलब
चलो good.
नहीं आ जाएंगे सभी आ जाएंगे बिग टीम इज देयर व्हाट काइंड ऑफ
ठीक है चलो thank you. So Venu, you should offer the vote of thanks today.
अरे नहीं मेरा से
Arupji, can you give me a minute, please?
Yeah, sorry.
Can you give me a minute before the vote of thanks?
Yes, sir. Ajay, so we have our chairman of Eastern region. Who is it? Venuji and all of the indirect tax.
Hi, Venu. Lot of things to discuss. Today I'll call you.
Yes, Gurjit sir, please, sir.
Just that the issue which RPG had raised about suspension, that relief is not given for the period during suspension in this section 16.5. So RPG, that rule says that when the suspension is revoked, maybe, or the cancellation is revoked, then suspension gets revoked automatically. Then for the period during suspension, the section 41st return principles have to be followed. So I hope that can make an effect, the point you were raising. We can give thoughts to it and discuss later. Now it is concluding time. But
Yes,
just
we
a
will.
thought there.
SMS, sir.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, please, Arup sir.
Thank you. So RPG, today there is a lot of good, I think, a lot of joy, and we have got a lot of value additions. And I think it was really wonderful. Only one request to all the members: let us keep joining in the SMS, because it will encourage the speakers and it will also encourage all the participants, because everybody will be happily sharing their inputs and thoughts when more people are there. So with this, RPG, then the vote of thanks goes to you. You have to share the vote of thanks because Venuji cannot share it.
Yeah. Thank you, Yatiji, and thank you all the participants for sharing your view, and Yatiji for giving us the food for thought for section 16.5 and 16.6. And never thought that discussion can take place on 16.5 and 16.6 for one entire hour. We initially thought that today we would be covering both 16.5 and 6 and section 128A, but the discussion was so thought-provoking that it took entire 1 hour. And what's the beauty of this SMS is that we go and read each and every details minutely. And believe me, the question which was raised by Adish and then subsequently by Arupji, that why it has not been placed in 16.4 and clause, why it has been separately placed. This was one discussion which I don't think has taken place at any session, or any such conclusion which we have come across today has been made at any such platform. So it is just the very interesting and very good pooling of mind of all the professionals, and it's always a pleasure to be part of this. And thank you to the speaker also for giving this thought-provoking session. Thank you to all the participants, and very encouraging to see the participation increasing on a session-to-session basis. So it encourages us to bring more new speakers, and the speakers are also encouraged to see the participation. So looking forward, sir, for such enthralling SMS in future also. Thank you to all the participants and especially to the speaker. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Abhijit. Thank you very much. Thanks to Yatish ji for confirming at such a short notice. And thanks to others also for volunteering. Though, we can have one speaker, so we had to go with one speaker. But it's nice to know that you all are volunteering, that you want to take up sessions. Thank you very much and have a wonderful weekend ahead. We'll again meet next week, Saturday. Same time, 9 a.m. on Zoom. Bye. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you all. Bye.